change makers, and welcome to The Core, sponsored by Red Apple EdCo. This is your everything education podcast. We talk about current events, books to read. We interview education leaders, hear their stories, learn from their biggest lessons, and they share what they wish you knew about what it means to be in education today. I'm your host, Dr. Kia Turner. Buckle up for small seeds of inspiration that can lead to big changes in your classroom practice. Let's take a bite out of today's guest. Hey everybody, it is Dr. Kia here from EdCampSTL, and I have met Principal Croley, who is the principal at McClure North, and also a podcaster. Wait, look at his situation here, right? So we're both doing media today, which means I had to have a chance to talk to him. So welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for being on Encountering Educators. And you guys know I'm on the free Screencastify Lite. So in 10 minutes, now 9 minutes and 30 seconds, we are going to get to know Principal Croley, where you can follow him if you're looking to connect with him and what keeps him in this work, okay? Ready? And question number one that I always ask everyone, why do you teach? Or really, because you're in administration, what causes you to persist in the education space?
So as a principal, it's just to continue to work the great work with students. And I have many times people ask, well, why aren't you moving on to district level positions, things like that? And for me, I like being hands-on with the kids in our building each and every day. I've been fortunate enough to move around throughout the country. I've been at several different high schools, and no matter where I go, the kids come first. And as a father myself, it's very important that I treat students like my own kids. If it's not good for my kids, it's not good for anybody's kids. So that's the way I see things. Yeah.
That is amazing. How long have you been at McClure North?
So this is my third year at McClure North.
Look at that. So trend data shows us that we can see the impact he's having on kids right now, and that's amazing. Okay, number two. What is one thing you are doing in your practice right now that excites you? Kind of something you see going on, you know, with building leadership, or just maybe even that's happening in your building that you're like, that really fires me up.
Actually, I'm here because the EdCamp fires me up. And this is something that we've been able to take back to our school and duplicate on a smaller scale with our staff from just a year ago and make it more of an unconference format as a professional development experience. I'm here today and I'm excited to have a lot more staff are actually attending today as well, so we can duplicate this again this April for our second annual EdCamp at McClure North High School.
So is that how you garnered buy-in? You sort of came yourself, and then you invited them to come to an EdCamp with you. And then those who came, you were kind of like, if you want, we could try to do it ourselves.
To be honest, I didn't even invite. I just kind of put it out there and said, hey, here's a free experience. It's local. And
you used the Jedi mind trick.
I may have.
Maybe a little bit. Okay, and so did they pick it up? Did you find that the staff, when you rolled this kind of professional development experience out to them, were they really receptive to that? How did that go?
They were extremely receptive, and I was extremely proud just walking around and bouncing around from session to session to see the enriched conversations that were taking place in my own building, things that hadn't taken place in pre-designed professional development, which was huge.
Listen, administrators, it's to admin with love for a reason. Message. I love that. Okay, so then here's my last thing, and then I promise I'll move to question 3. Can you tell me what led you as an administrator to attend an EdCamp? I go to EdCamps all over the country, right? I rarely run into an administrator there. What made you break through that and say, I need to go to see what teachers are doing?
To be honest, I know teachers in the area who have been part of EdCamp experience since I've only been in St. Louis now 5 years. Okay. But I've got myself connected to those folks as well. So actually my first EdCamp was designed just for school leaders and district level administrators. So it was more of a smaller scale. It was a summertime experience. And then from that kind of coming to the bigger EdCamps that we have here this winter. So it was really just kind of maybe luck as well, just finding it.
Well, you just pursued it. I love that. Okay, number 3. What is one resource you think every educator should know about? Just one.
One resource?
Yes, just one resource that they could use besides the Principal Croley podcast.
Look, it's interesting because I know sometimes educators like to shy away from social media, but one of the best learnings for me is just who I'm connected to on Twitter. Some of the ed chats that take place on a weekly basis, like right here in Missouri, the MoEd chat that takes place on Thursday nights. I would highly encourage people to check it out and just to see what your colleagues around the state are talking about. And you can dial into any ed chat around the country. I love those experiences.
I agree. And I would say that when I first got started in the educational Twitter, right? You know, there's separate ones. But when I started on the education Twitter, EdChats really helped me break through too and get an idea of who was out there and what they were talking about, and ultimately led to what's happening right now. Check it.
Well, and a lot of those people that I chat with, they're here today. So we put a face to the name.
So we're getting to meet our edu heroes today. That's what we're saying. Essentially, we're fangirling and fanguying all over people today. Okay. So then, number 4, what was your last aha moment as a professional? What was the last thing you remember saying, oh my God, I get it. I can see how these things connect now. Or, oh, if I just shift this one practice, it'll affect all these other things.
I think kind of a more recent aha for me was, it's fortunate enough, our superintendent to take a team of administrators to Harvard this past summer to spend some time with a public education leadership program there. So we were there for a week, and we were with probably one of the smallest districts around. I think there are about 10 or 12 districts from around the country, but we were the smallest. Most of them were more urban districts in Minneapolis, Boston, Denver, places like that. But just to sit around the table and do action research and case studies and learn from others around the country on the power of equity work that needs to be taking place, that we think we're doing, and we're still not there yet. Mm-hmm. And so that probably for me was more of the best learnings recently. I took more out of that week than I did my doctoral program. So that's how powerful it was.
He didn't go to SLU, okay? Like I did. My doctoral program was amazing.
that was no knock on Maryville at all.
Just kidding. I'm going to have to look into that. So you're saying that your superintendent was sort of forward thinking and saying, you know what, we need to take this opportunity to really dig deep into what it's going to take to help our students be successful and to understand kind of the work that's in front of us.
Correct.
Go superintendent. Okay. And then last thing, in 4 minutes or less, tell us, what is it that you think every educator should know? So this is where you do like words of advice, maybe to someone just getting started as an educator or administrator, or the message you'd like to put out there about education in your area, either or both.
I think one message that resonates with me that I always look for, even after 23 years in education, is relationships. You can't get to the deep curriculum work with your kids unless you've built that relationship, and that starts day one. And there's so much power in that. I think people forget that. And sometimes people lose that thought process if they've been at it for a while. I was probably guilty of that myself in the classroom, but there's so much power in that relationships to our kids. And it goes deeper in relationships with our parents, our community, as well as the staff we work with every day. Especially at a large high school, we are a family. We are a community. Mm-hmm. And for a lot of students, we are the only community they know. So how do we go deep with them and protect them and take care of them so they walk out of our buildings and can do anything they want to do?
I was just in a conversation about this, actually. So tell me, what is one strategy that you use to build relationships with the parents in your building? Strategy.
I will be honest, at the high school level, and this has always been the case, it's such a struggle. And
that's what we were just saying.
So we have a very powerful, small group of parents who are always there when we need them, always asking the right questions, will do anything for us. I've been at several high schools, and that's always the case. And I don't know where we in education lose parents from that, because you can walk into many elementary schools, parents everywhere. I was at my own kid's school yesterday, volunteering for a little bit yesterday afternoon. It was amazing just to see the number of parents. I'm thinking to myself, as a high school educator, how do we replicate this? And I don't have the answer.
I was just in Kansas City, there's an organization called the Lean Lab. Shout out to the Lean Lab. And what they do is they gather kind of people in the education space to think about ways to solve issues like increased parental involvement, which we were just talking about on Thursday. And they said in high school, what happens, or past elementary school, are we creating these meaningful opportunities for parents to push in? Or are we just like, come to the PTA meeting, if there is one in high school, come to parent-teacher conference? Where in elementary school, we had one parent in particular who said, I just come and I cut things out for my kid's teacher, put them in a little Ziploc bag, and I leave. And so it's like, how do you create those, in my mind, Ziploc bag moments,
Well, I think about it too in the sense of, I don't need parents to come to my building to give me that time and exposure. For me, I send out Friday emails to your parents. Just give me the time the courtesy of reading through it and the information I'm providing, whether it be scholarships, just so they're in the know of what's going on. Sometimes that's enough too.
I love that. Okay, we are down to 15 seconds. And so thank you guys for joining us on Encountering Educators from EdCamp St. Louis. Follow Principal Croley at Principal Croley on Twitter if you want to hear more from him and listen to his awesome podcast. That's all we have for today. Thank you for listening to The Core. Wherever you are listening to us, be sure to like our show, subscribe, and share the episode that's meant the most to you. We appreciate every single one of our subscribers, as do our sponsors. We look forward to seeing you next week. You can also check us out on YouTube at Red Apple EdCo if you'd like to see more video of these conversations. We have them posted there.